Motley Crue didn't just play hard, they lived like they were crowd surfing to a heavy metal soundtrack. From fistfights with security guards to cowbell violence, their offstage antics were just as chaotic as their music. Brace yourself for some of the weirder things you didn't know about rock's most outrageous band.
You get to see how we got to these bad decisions and then how we got out of them. The band has lots of regrets.
Motley Crue hosted the most infamous parties in rock history. These events resulted in the members bragging about all the frolicking and horizontal tangos they took part in with fans, foes, and other famous figures. It's logical to imagine there's a code between bandmates, a rule that suggests relatives and significant others are off limits. Well, not in the case of the Crue. While appearing on The Howard Stern Show in 2005, Nikki Sixx addressed a story that he had tried to hook up with Tommy Lee's mother in the past.
What's wrong with that? She was Miss Grace.
Yeah. When pressed about when exactly it happened, Sixx explained that he was in his early 20s, and it was around the time the band formed. Sixx claimed he propositioned Lee's mom at a party held at either the Lee household or their apartment, but nothing ended up happening. According to Sixx, it didn't bother Lee at all. In fact, he joked that Lee calls him Dad now. Howard Stern's producer asked if it was true what Lee's father said about the incident in The Dirt, Confessions of the World's Most Notorious Rock Band, in which it was claimed that if Sixx could convince Lee's mother to hook up with him, he deserved it. Sixx confirmed that part to be true, but that doesn't mean he was successful in his mission.
Did you get her or you didn't get her?
Hell no. No.
While the average music fan might not know of the name Doc McGhee off the bat, he remains a legendary industry figure behind the scenes. As a manager, he worked with acts like Kiss and Motley Crue. Well, the Crue gave him more than a few headaches and extra gray hairs because of their non-stop antics at the peak of their popularity.
We weren't very smart back then.
So, for the tour of their 1983 album, Shout at the Devil, McGhee hired Fred Saunders as tour security and offered him an incentive if the guys got out of hand. McGhee would pay Saunders extra money if he smacked around the band when they got out of control. In the book The Heroin Diaries, A Year in the Life of a Shattered Rock Star, Saunders said, "I hit Motley a lot. I once broke Tommy's nose in Indiana. I broke Nikki's ribs and I beat the shit out of Vince many times because he's an asshole. I think I even hit poor Mick once. That was just to complete the set." Despite slugging the band per McGhee's instruction, Saunders added that he and Sixx ended up becoming good friends. In 2011, Motley Crue appeared on CNN to chat with Piers Morgan, who asked them to discuss an average day during their wild years. Vince Neil explained how they would wake up in the afternoon and immediately hunt down a bottle of Jack Daniels. It wasn't only to drink, though.
Just grabbed cereal and then didn't have any milk, so use Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
With your Captain Crunch.
That isn't the weirdest thing they did with Jack Daniels either. Morgan asked them to clarify the rumor that they had used it in an IV.
Dumb and Dumber.
We thought it was a good idea.
Sixx explained how they only did it once and never again. As for Lee, though, he realized something was wrong with what they did.
That's for me personally. I went, okay, wait a second. We could have just easily drank this. I mean, this has gone way too far.
If you look at the complete timeline of the whirlwind changes to Motley Crue's lineup, it's difficult to keep track of everyone coming in, coming out, or returning to the band. Most fans consider Vince Neil, Tommy Lee, Nikki Sixx, and Mick Mars to be the definitive members, but the group's original axeman left before the cup of tea got cold. Guitarist Greg Leon was Tommy Lee's bandmate in Sweet 19. Leon left that group to play for other bands before rekindling his musical relationship with Lee. As Leon told Guitar World, he and Lee started to put together a band that would eventually become Motley Crue, so they sought out a bassist. They watched a show in which Nikki Sixx played with his band London, and Lee gushed about Sixx, especially his appearance. But Leon wasn't impressed with Sixx's bass playing ability, so he and Lee reached an impasse. Leon explained, "I was looking to put a great band together like Rainbow, Deep Purple, or Humble Pie. Nikki Sixx simply was not capable. So I told Tommy, if this is the guy you want, I'm leaving." Nikki was incapable of musically executing what I envisioned.
Nikki said, hey, listen to this. And he started like this thing that was kind of I don't want to say a mess, but it was a mess.
Leon also claimed he witnessed a session musician recording the bass for the Crue's album, Theater of Pain, and that the producer alluded that Sixx wasn't good enough to record.
I'll be honest with you, I don't necessarily agree with that.
In the genre of hard rock and heavy metal, There were countless examples of concerts that devolved into chaos. Considering Motley Crue's notoriety and penchant for scandal, is anyone surprised that one of their gigs made the headlines for all the wrong reasons?
I don't think anybody's crazy enough to want to work with these guys.
During a 1990 concert in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Vince Neil was alleged to have taken a cowbell from the stage and flung it. The cowbell reportedly struck a security guard in his head. That unlucky guard claimed he experienced headaches and dizziness from the blow, forcing him to miss days of work and seek medical treatment. He sued the band for $25,000 and an undisclosed amount for punitive damages for what he alleged to be, quote, willful and wanton misconduct. In promotion of their 1987 album Girls, 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 Motley Crue jetted out to Japan for a few shows. For Doc McGee, this kind of travel wasn't fun because he had to babysit this troublemaking band of misfits. As McGee told The Guardian in 2001, the tour started off on the wrong foot after Tommy Lee was found with marijuana, but the promoter managed to get him off the hook. McGee also described a bullet train ride from hell after a show. Apparently, Lee and Nikki Sixx started causing chaos the moment they stepped on the train, and matters took a bloodier turn once Sixx flung a bottle of Jack Daniels that hit the back of a man's head and busted him wide open. McGee added, "When we pulled into the Tokyo station, there were hundreds of policemen running alongside the car. Hey Nikki, I said, your fan club's here." And he was so whacked out that he didn't realize they'd sent the Riot squad after him. He thought it was an adoring Japanese public. McGee explained how he had to sit at the police station filling out the paperwork, and Sixx was finally released in the morning. If you're trying to pinpoint the moments that destroyed Motley Crue's reputation, it's possible to flip to any page and select one of the many salacious events mentioned in The Dirt, Confessions of the World's Most Notorious Rock Band. In one chapter, Vince Neil recalled how there used to be a lady who would visit them on a regular basis. She owned a Jaguar XJS, which also happened to be Tommy Lee's favorite car. According to Neil, she made a deal with Lee that she would let him drive her car if they slept together. In pretty graphic detail, Neil described how he and Nikki Sixx walked in on Lee and the lady in the middle of the deed. After they were done, Lee stood up, got dressed, smiled, and went to drive the Jaguar. Reportedly, this wasn't just a one-time deal either.
I just did it because it was a blast, really good, fun.
The Jaguar had a V12 engine, and somehow that feels relevant and also telling to the entire deal. Artists create from a personal place, embodying the age-old adage, write what you know. In music, it isn't unusual for musicians to write lyrics about their own personal relationships, but writing about a woman from the point of view of your bandmate is a little strange. Trust Nikki Sixx to have done this. Without You, which is off the 1989 album Dr. Feelgood, remains one of the band's most memorable ballads. In a 2009 chat with Rolling Stone, Sixx explained what served as the inspiration for this lovey-dovey song, saying, "That was a very simple idea for a song, in which I had written a lyric about Heather Locklear and Tommy. They were coming over to my place all the time. I thought to myself, one day, without you, coming from Tommy's perspective, life would not be the same. It was a good relationship at the time. It was sort of a romantic moment. While there's nothing wrong with appreciating a couple being in love, wouldn't it have made more sense for Tommy Lee to write about his own romantic experience?"
I'd rather just party with me tonight.
Adam Shankman's Rock of Ages tanked at the box office, making only $59 million from a $75 million budget. The musical film also didn't receive a lot of love from critics and fans. Nonetheless, it featured a host of classic rock songs like Twisted Sister's I Wanna Rock, Journey's Don't Stop Believing, and Def Leppard's Pour Some Sugar on Me. At one point, Motley Crue was approached for their music to feature in both the Broadway musical and Rock of Ages movie, but they shut that right down. Speaking to Rolling Stone in 2014, Nikki Sixx explained why the group rejected the offers, saying, "I specifically am not one to embrace that era of music. I don't think we are era-specific. Rock of Ages offered us so much money. They offered us points. They offered us a percentage. We said no. It was a piece of movie that has nothing to do with what we believe in." Considering how Rock of Ages isn't considered a success by any form of metric, this proved to be a dodged bullet for the band. That said, Sixx's statement about Motley Crue not fitting into that era's music is peculiar, since most pundits and fans would argue otherwise. Holding the rights to an artist's music catalog means a lot, both in terms of revenue and the ability to license music. Back in the day, many musicians signed deals with record labels and regretted it later, fighting for years or decades to regain the rights to their catalog. Motley Crue experienced this too when they signed with Elektra Records in the early 80s.
Elektra Records at that time, I'm going to expound on this because you know what, those guys suck.
So their manager brokered a deal to regain the rights in the 90s. Consequently, this made the news that the Crüe sold its rights in 2021 even weirder. According to Variety, the band sold their music catalog, which included everything from their first album, Too Fast for Love, up until Saints of Los Angeles, to BMG for a reported and disputed figure of $150 million. In a statement about the deal, Motley Crue said, "It feels amazing to be collaborating with our new partners at BMG. Their extensive track record of success in rock made them the perfect home to continue preserving and growing our musical legacy, ensuring we always stay at the top."
If that sounds a lot like we couldn't say no to all that cash, well, that's certainly one way to hear it.
If you or anyone you know needs help with addiction issues, help is available. Visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP 4357.